All right, so we're back on it. Uh, I think what I would like to do is break up the demos into two parts in no specific order. We'll do Photoshop to start with, and then we'll end with After Effects, knowing that there's not as much to demo in Photoshop as there is After Effects. So tonight we're going to talk about animated GIFs, which I think some of you will probably end up doing. And we'll end with just some kind of beginning After Effects animations. Both of the things that we're going to do tonight will be exercises. I'll show you where those are at. So if you follow along, you should be done for the weekend. They'll be due on Tuesday. Why did we jump from exercise 27 to 29? It's because we've got two more Photoshop exercises that are already saved in Blackboard that we'll come back to. So don't think that, like, that was weird. Why did we just skip two things? We're going to get to them, but we're kind of moving out of order a bit. So we'll start with animated GIFs. We'll move on to some basic After Effects tweening. And then on Tuesday, we'll start with Photoshop, where I'll show you how to rotoscope. And then we'll come back and we'll do some over animating in After Effects, as well as some pin and joint After Effects stuff. And then we should be done with Photoshop as much as it can animate. There's only two ways to animate in Photoshop. There's the video timeline, and then there's the frame timeline. Tonight we'll talk about the frame timeline. After we talk about both of those, that's it. Now there's still a lot to cover in After Effects, so we'll do as much as we can. But once we're done with this project, we'll kind of be done with After Effects. So when we move on to our final project, the sequential art, some of you might have lingering questions or want to know X, Y, and Z, or maybe you want to do an animation for your final student run project. Totally cool. That'd be awesome. If you need more additional After Effects support, I'm here. But as a class, we'll probably be done talking about it. All right, I'm going to share my screen. This first thing that I'm going to do is you don't need to do. I just like you paying attention to kind of get an idea of what's about to happen, because the GIF that we're going to make comes from chopping up a bunch of pictures. You guys will probably recognize some of these pictures. We're going to make a horse run, but just to kind of get a conversation started, I'm just going to draw. So on that note, let me share my screen. All right, we'll come back to this in a second. So let me create a new document, and it doesn't have to be big. So file new. This is fine. 216 by 60. That's fine. It's a yeah. I'll do 500 pixels by 500 pixels. You can see that it's 72 DPI, RGB, so this would work for animation. All right, here we go. So I'm going to make a GIF, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a frowny face smile. Sound good? So big important thing here is make sure that you're working on separate layers. So got a new layer here, and I'm going to start with a circle. I would love to know why it keeps reverting to a dashed line. I don't understand what that's about. We'll do yellow. All right, and then I'm going to create a new layer, and this will be the eyes. So B for brush, D, maybe I'll just even make circle eyes. There's that dotted line again. How about that? The iconic bumper sticker here. Okay, and then I'm going to make a new layer. I'm going to draw a mouth, so B for brush. Start with a frown. make a new layer. I'm going to do a less of a frown. I'm going to make a new layer, start to curve upward a little bit. Make a new layer. All right, so that looks pretty weird. Let me show it to you in a different manner. And this is something that you might want to do. Let me turn these off. There's a term in animation called onion skinning. It's a pretty good term to describe what's happening here, where you can see previous or upcoming layers, but they're at like a 50% opacity or 30% opacity. That way, when you draw, you can kind of see the guidelines. So here's my frowny face. I could take that frowny face and then dip the opacity down to like something around here, and then make a new layer. Say, all right, well, I know that my next drawing needs to be something like right around here. And then I could take that layer, pull the opacity down, make a new layer. All right, well, I know that my next layer needs to be something like right around in here. Take that, bring it down. And this is onion skinning, where you're using a previous frame or frames as a reference point to get your anatomy or smile or whatever it is kind of correct. I'll trash those two out. Bring this opacity back up. All right, so I've got smile 1, smile 2, smile 3, smile 4. Good. Now, in this particular instance, I don't think it's important to name layers. There's not that much going on. If it got more complicated than this, though, it's probably a pretty good idea to start naming layers. I want to talk about transformations, but I don't want to talk about them just yet. Just know that transformations, like some of you might think, well, what you could do is just take this, capture a frame and then Control T and do something like this, and that could be your other frame. That won't work. Transformations apply to every subsequent and every upcoming frame. So if you transform something, if you rotate it, if you shrink it, if you twist it around, every instance that you had of that will adopt that new transformation. What does that mean? Guys, stay away from transformations. If you need something to rotate, duplicate it and then apply a little rotation to it. Then duplicate it again and apply a new rotation. Have instances of that rotation as opposed to rotating the layer, because that will throw everything off. All right, this thing's built. Is it complex? No. Will it work? It should. So in order to get this kicked out as a GIF, we need a timeline. So we're going to go to Window, Timeline. This is probably the first time that some of you have ever seen the timeline here. And for some of you, it might be the last time that you ever see it. Some of you won't use this at all. You're not going to be using GIFs. You're going to be using After Effects. But in the spirit of saying that I went through everything, here it is. Now, before anything happens, you need to tell it what timeline to be. Right now, it's got set to a video timeline. If I drop this down, you've got two to choose from: a frame animation or a video animation. On Tuesday, we'll rotoscope. Rotoscope will be a video timeline. It kind of behaves a little bit like Premiere or iMovie or something like that. Word of caution, though, don't use Photoshop to edit video. Yeah, you could, but man, that is not the right tool to use at all. It's not good. But for rotoscoping, it's great. It's fantastic. Well, we're going to be dealing today with frame animation. This would be like a flip book. One page is a flip, the other page is a flip, next page is a flip, and so forth. So I'm going to create a frame animation, and then I have to actually click the button here. All right, so there is my first frame. You can add as many frames as you want. You can delete the frames once they're there, and we'll talk about how to kind of space things out as the demo progresses. All right, so how many mouths do I have? I've got the frown, medium smile, and then the smile. So 1, 2, 3, 4. At a minimum, I'm going to want 4 frames. There's a little plus down here in the lower right next to the trash icon. Just click this. 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'll probably end up looping this, so it smiles, frowns, smiles, frowns, so I will add more frames, but let me build these first 4 frames out. This can be a little bit frustrating at first because we're so used to layers. We're not used to the way that frames talk to layers. Um, I can't explain more on that until you actually see it. So let me see if during this demo I can kind of mess it up. But trust me when I say it can be problematic. All right, I'm going to go back to frame 1. Just click on frame 1. And what I'm going to do is just turn on what I want on. So in this case, I want layer 1 on. It could look like that. I want it to look like this. So if I go to frame 2, click on that. It looks just like frame 1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hide layer 1 and turn on layer 2. I'm going to go to frame 3. I'm going to turn on layer 3 and turn off layer 1. And I guess this is kind of what I was alluding to. If I go to frame 4, why doesn't it show the smile? It's because it remembers when I created it, when I made frame 1, 2, 3, 4, that's what was on when I created it. So by default, it's still on, and that can be kind of confusing sometimes. So I'll turn off layer 1 and I'll turn on layer 4. Let's play it. Okay, so it does work. I think it's moving a little fast. And like I said, it would be kind of cool if it reversed. So it smiles, it frowns. So I'm going to add a new frame. So I need frame, oops. I need a new frame from frame 4. So that would be layer 3 on, layer 2 on. And I know you'd think that the next one would be layer 1 on, but you don't want another layer 1 because actually I'll do it and I'll show you the problem. Okay, so frame 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'll go back down to frame 3. So I'll turn this one on, this one off. Turn this one off, this one on, and finish where I started. This will work, but you will notice what we call stickiness. So I'm going to play it. It actually looks pretty good, just by accident, that stickiness, because it holds on for a little bit. And the reason for that is frame 1 and frame 7 are the exact same frame. So I don't really need that frame 7. So I'm just going to hit the little trash icon and trash that out. So if you want a full loop, just remember the frame that you start with isn't necessarily going to be the exact same frame that you end with. Because once you hit the next to last one, it will jump back to the beginning, and that's what you want it to start with. So now if I press play, I get a smile cycle, we'll call it. All right, so it works. That's great. What can I do to this now? Couple things. I can loop it. Like right now, it's set to loop forever, which is great. Maybe I just want it to play once. I can set that up. Maybe I just want it to play 3 times. I can set that up. I think it's going a little bit fast. I would like it to, instead of immediately go to the next frame, I'd like it to wait maybe like half a second or a third of a second or something like that. So let's change duration. I'm going to grab frame 1. I'll hold the shift key down and grab all of them. So all of them are selected, and then I'll hit this little drop down right here, and I can choose no delay, which is what it's set to right now. A 0.1, I'm going to choose a 0.2. Let's play this and see how it looks. Maybe a bit too slow. So let me try 0.1. Play this. Looks better. And maybe I'll just have it loop 3 times. So how do I do that? Right here where it says forever, this is your looping. You can choose other. How many times do you want it to loop? I'll do 4. Choose OK. Let's let it play. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's done. Now, most of these GIFs, I think they look best when they loop forever. So I'm going to change that back to forever. Play it one more time. And that's it. It's done. The only thing that I need to do is export it, but we'll export the horse together as a class. Now, this could have just as easily been something different. I'll turn all this stuff off. Let me draw a few little, let's just have fun. Do a couple squiggles here. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to do B for brush, do a red squiggle. Okay, drop the opacity down some so I can see it. Now I'm going to do a yellow squiggle. Have it move a little bit. Now I'm going to do a green squiggle. And then I'll end with a blue squiggle. This is totally a legitimate type of animation too, guys. If you want to go abstract or non-representational, I'm fine with it. If you just want to do colors and shapes, you can have a lot of fun with it. Turn all these back to 100% opacity. I think a lot of people kind of lean on narrative, which is fine. I've got no problem with that, but sometimes experimental animations are pretty fun too. All right, so I want to animate these. I'm going to go back to frame 1, and this is part of the problem. So I'm glad that this happened. This highlights why it's important to kind of set these things up correctly to begin with, because if you don't, you'll notice that when I went to frame 1, it still remembers that this stuff is on. So I have to go back and turn the stuff off that I don't want. And I'll just start with that. Now, if I go to this frame, I can turn off this and turn on this. I'll go to this frame, turn off the red, go to the green, frame 4, turn on the blue, turn off the red. I'll backwards animate now. This one will go back to the green. This one will go back to the yellow. And then it'll go back to the red. So let's see what this looks like. Pretty fun. Looks good. That is GIF animation, folks. Simple as that. The only thing that we haven't done is we haven't kicked it out as a GIF just yet. It's just a PSD. So let me stop sharing. I'll close this out. I'll leave this open in case we need to show up for a demo. Let me show you where your file is that you're going to want to follow along with. Under assignments, exercises, animated GIF, file is called muybridgein, and it will look like this. So I'll give you guys a second to open this, and then we'll get started together. GIFs are a lot of fun. We usually do 2 of them in class over the year for design 1 and 2. 1 just being kind of simple little things, 2 building on top of it and doing a little bit more of a complicated animation. But at the root of it, GIFs aren't supposed to be long-winded narratives. They're small little things that usually loop that just kind of look cool. So that's all they have to be. You don't want something really, really big. You don't want something that lasts minutes. You're talking like 10 seconds tops. So what you're looking at here is an artist by the name of Edward Muybridge. Some of you have probably seen this work before where it's a horse that runs. This guy did all types of locomotion studies. It wasn't just horses, it was animals, it was people, babies, people carrying things upstairs, people throwing rocks, just tons and tons of motion studies. It all started with a bet. 2 guys were They were betting whether or not when a horse runs, do all four hooves ever leave the ground at once? Like, is there ever a point when the horse is completely airborne? And they couldn't figure out how to settle the bet. So muybridge figured it out. And I don't know if because of that, he went kind of nuts and just started like photographing everything moving. Seems like it was because he kind of figured out this technology. But that's what he did. And that's kind of what he's known for. So what I did is I found one of his plates, and you can Google, there's thousands of these things out there. I just found one of the more iconic ones and I chopped it up. And what we got is a horse running. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn on layer one. This is where we'll get started. Does anybody need me to, let's see here, where's my chat? Is everyone ready to kind of animate? Does anyone need a little bit more time? All right, everyone's got the file then? All right, we can't do anything until we get that timeline out. So we're going to go to Window, Timeline, Window, Timeline. We need a frame animation. So don't choose video, choose frame. If you accidentally choose video, you can get to frame by hitting this little button in the lower left. This will convert it to frames. It's better to get it right the first time though, because if you do something in the video timeline and you, I don't know, do some weird stuff, it can alter your frame timeline. So make sure you got frames. This is what we need. All right, so I'm looking at the layers, layer 1 all the way up through layer 11. That lets me know I'm going to need at least 11 frames. So pretty easy to create frames. We're just going to hit the plus 10 times. So frame 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. It wouldn't make much sense to loop this because then it would be like the horse is running and then it would run backwards. I mean, it might look cool. I don't know. But if memory serves, when we hit frame 11, it should jump back to frame 1. It'll skip a little bit, but it'll basically just create a constant run cycle. There'll probably be a little bit of jitter in there. And I haven't tightened up the registration that much. Registration is a term that animators use for, all right, so here's the horse and it's, running, running, running. But if the picture is up a little bit, then it's off registration. I could totally tighten it up. I could turn all these layers to 50% opacity and line them up perfectly so the horse's body stays completely still and the legs move. I didn't do that, so it'll probably end up looking like an old-timey movie where it kind of like jumps and pops a little bit, but probably adds to the charm a little bit. Okay, the rest is pretty straightforward. What we're going to do is we're going to go frame by frame. We're going to turn on the corresponding layer to that frame and then just rinse and repeat. So if we go back to frame 1, and I know I'm on frame 1 because I see the little white bounding box around it. On frame 1, I've got layer 1 on. So far, so good. I'll go to frame 2. I'm going to turn layer 2 on. Now, you don't necessarily have to turn layer 1 off because it probably is completely on top, but I do it just in case. Frame 3 is going to be layer 3. Frame 4, and you don't have to wait for me. You know where this is going. Frame 4 is layer 4. This works out real well. The layers completely jive up to the name of the frame, so pretty simple. So if I skip one and I'm like, oh, what was on frame 7? It's layer 7. Frame 6, layer 6. Frame 7, layer 7. 8, 8, 9 to 9, 10, 10, 11 to 11. Do not submit this PSD. That's not what I'm looking for your submissions. I want to see your gifs. So once we play this thing through and once we get the timing correct, I'll show you how to export out a GIF. That's what you guys are going to submit. Now mine is set to 5-second duration. So if I hit play right now, It's painfully slow. So 5 seconds is way too long. So let me shift select all of these and change 5 seconds, shift select all of these. And let's do, I'm going to do a 0.1 second. See what that looks like. Just like that, it does indeed look like an old movie. It's got the nice off registration, but it's registered tight enough that it does look like a horse is running. And the loop isn't bad. There's a little bit of a skip there, but nothing that's so egregious that would warrant, oh, I got to create new frames or I got to like really nudge some stuff around. It works. It's okay. I'm curious to see what no skip would look like. It's probably going to look too fluid or too weird. So I'll go to no delay, play this. It's not bad. I think it's a little bit too fast, but not bad. So I'm going to go back to that 0.1 delay. I like this. You be the judge. Don't do anything over like a 0.2 because you could put in a 10-second pause. You absolutely could. But when I watch it, if something doesn't start moving right away, I'm going to assume that you didn't do it right. So don't go over 0.2 seconds. All right, if you've got this set up, it's time to kick it out as a GIF. This is a little bit different, so pay attention. File, export, save for web. This is something that we don't really do a ton of anymore. In fact, to the best of my knowledge, this might be the only time you would have to do something like this. So let's go ahead and choose it. Yours might come up a little bit different than mine. Already, Photoshop has taken the liberty of saying, hey, you've got a timeline in here. Do you want a GIF? Like it's guessing for us, which is kind of nice. But you could choose a JPEG. You won't get any animation, but you could have a JPEG. You could have a ping. The ping could have transparency, or you could do a bump map. We don't want any of those. Just be aware that if you ever needed to kick out something like that, this is a place that you could do that. We're going to choose GIF, and let's take a quick spin through the settings here. You have a couple different compressions, perceptual, selective, additive, additive, you pronounce the word, and restrictive.
Adaptive?
Thank you. Guys, stay with selective. They don't really do that much difference, but by default, selective is the one that's chosen. It works just fine. Diffusion, because of the file that we're using, it's not really going to matter. If we had a file that was extremely flat, like a logo or something, we might want to choose noise. Diffusion is going to be nice. It will soften the edges because that brings us to the next part, which is colors. I'm sure that you've seen images on the web that have artifacts. They're like rectangular blocks that just look kind of strange. I'm not talking about pixels. I might even compress something down really bad to show you what an artifact is. GIFs don't have those. GIFs don't render things that way. GIFs are based off of an amount of colors. So in this case, we have 256 colors. There's that magic number again, right? 256. 256 is the maximum amount of colors a GIF is allowed. If I was to bring this down to something crazy like 4, it actually doesn't look that bad. And then 2 is obviously not there. Maybe we can zoom in a bit. Yeah. This is what happens with a GIF. The GIF will just turn into almost like an 8-bit style art where it's just using dots to compensate for a lack of colors. Keep it at the 256. It'll look much, much better, and it won't really add that much file size. Don't worry about matte, and then no dither is fine. There's a really good chance that this is going to be just fine out of the gate, but if things look strange, feel free to poke around in here and see if something else works well. All right, so we've got GIF. That's what we want. That's the most important thing. We're going to choose save. Now, this is important. Where's it going to go? Are you going to name it? And you need to tell it what to be. Mine's going to the downloads. Great. It's called MyBridge. Fine. Format. You have HTML and images, images only, or HTML only. It's not a terrible idea to do HTML and images. What that's going to give you is it's going to give you a little HTML file. Chances are it will open up in Chrome. That's what browser most of you use. What you need to submit, though, is the images. So I'm going to choose both. I'll show you what it looks like. But in a pinch, make sure that, if nothing else, images only is selected. I'll choose HTML and images because the HTML is just going to be a script file. It will be kilobytes big, so it's not going to take up any room. All right, let's go into my downloads and choose save. All right, let's see what it looks like. Oh, there's that little robot that we're going to use next week. All right, go to my downloads. All right, so here's the HTML. This is what your GIF would look like in a browser. So if you were to publish this to your website right now, there it is. And it is HTML ready. You can just block insert this right in line to HTML5 code. You're good to go. But this isn't what you want to submit. What you want to submit will be inside of your images folder. There will be a folder. This is your GIF. That's what you guys will submit. So just attach that to the submission folder, and you should be good to go. That's it, folks. There's nothing else to a GIF. On Thursday, we'll talk a little bit about stillism. That was that file that I tried to do where you saw that girl putting on makeup. I'm going to make that into a GIF, and then we'll really finish up GIFs at that point. But that's it. So for those of you that are going to choose GIFs, that are going to hand draw something, that's how you set up a timeline, and that's how you toggle between your layers. I did.
Sorry.
Nope, go ahead.
Hey, professor.
Mm-hmm.
So I did the HTML and I got that image folder and I have the GIF here.
Mm-hmm.
And so far it's not technically moving in animation. It just gave me just the slides, but it's not technically moving.
So you don't have a folder.
I have the folder, but it's not technically moving. It's not animating.
There's no GIF file inside of that folder.
Yeah, there's a GIF file, but it's not technically animating.
So if you double click it, nothing happens. Why don't you
No,
double click it, Alan, and nothing happens?
not not working.
All right, well, let's do this. Why don't you share your screen and let's take a look at you still got your Photoshop file open?
Oh, let me go to my Zoom on my MacBook.
In the meantime, folks, grab exercise 30. There is an Illustrator file. I want you guys to download that. All right, good.
Yeah, like something like here's the image
Yep,
folder.
yep.
And when I click it, it's just this.
I wonder if it's because it's in preview. Okay.
It's because I did like HTML first.
No, no. I think it's uh, I think it's what it opened with. I think preview is parsing out the individual frames. Do this. Just close that out. Right click on it. Open with. Try try Safari. Yep, it works.
Okay.
Yep, you're good.
So I'll just put that in the submission.
Yep,
Already got it. Thank you.
cool. Yep, no problem. Yeah, I kind of forget. I don't know what it's called on Windows as far as the preview. Maybe it's just called preview. I don't know. As opposed to the Mac preview, they do different things. So you're good. Just it was showing you every frame. All right, let's finish up with some After Effects. So now what we're going to do, and the important thing that we get to tonight is the render queue. Is this Fashion AI? I'm going to download that. And then we are going to open After Effects. This is kind of a weird size, 1280 by 720. Okay. I want to take a look at the layers. This is a good example right here of how you'd want to set things up if you're using Illustrator. I talked about it before break. Everything is labeled. Everything is on its own layer. I don't have sub paths on girl one. It's just her. I don't have anything on girl two. It's just her. The background is just the background. So 1280 by, what would I say the other value was? 720. Okay. All right, folks. Once you have that file downloaded, we need to create a new project. So once you have After Effects open, it's going to be a new project. And we need to make a new composition. This composition is kind of a custom size. It's a little bit older preset. So I think I had this thing set up from, well, at least last semester, but maybe even older than that. So let's go to new composition. And we're going to plug in 1280 by 720. Now, if when you do this, if it's updating the height and it's kind of messing it up, what I want you to do is I want you to uncheck the lock aspect ratio from 16:9 to whatever. You can just deselect this, plug in 1280 by 720. Frame rate's going to stay at 24 frames per second. And I think 5 seconds is plenty long enough. If we need more, we can change it. But that looks pretty decent. I'll let everyone set that up. Once you've got that plugged in, you can go ahead and choose OK. Should have a rectangle of sorts. Now, we don't have any books in our library as of yet. So let's go ahead and import that book. So we're going to go to File, Import, File. Mine's in my downloads. There it is, called Fashion. All right, we're going to stop here for a second. I had said last class that you can bring this in 3 different ways. You can do footage, which if we did footage right now, all of those layers would be smashed together and it would just be one single layer. That would negate us being able to animate all the bits and pieces in between. We can do composition, retain layer size, or composition. Generally speaking, like 95% of the time, maybe more, what you want to bring things in as is comp retain layer size. The reason for this is if you don't do this, everything is going to have the dimensions of the composition. So I want to animate the star. I want to rotate the star. The star is going to be 1280 by 720 instead of the size of the star, which might only be 50 pixels by 50 pixels. So retaining the layer size, it will understand that the tallest dimension and the widest dimension are the size of that element. So needless to say, just choose comp, retain layer size, and choose import. All right. So what we have now is we have a few books in our library. We've got comp 1, which is what we started with. We have another comp called fashion, and we have a folder that if we twirl it down, we have all the layers from the Illustrator file. This is real handy because now what we can do is we can just double click on the composition called fashion. Why is it called fashion? Because the file was called fashion. The layers are corresponding to the layers that are inside of here. But if you just double click on the fashion composition, there it is. Everything is kind of set up for us the way that it was inside of Illustrator. So this is really handy. This is going to speed things up immensely. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to animate the star. We're going to rotate the star. We are going to have the girls fade on. And then we're going to have the word Paris fashion grow. So 3 different types of animation, and then we'll offset things. And if we move at a pretty good pace, we should be able to render this in around 9 o'clock. Then I'll take attendance and we'll be done for the night. All right, let's start with the star. The way that I like to do this is I will isolate just what I'm working with. So in this case, here's the star. This works a little bit like Photoshop. On the left-hand side, you've got visibility, little eyeball icons. So you can just turn these off. So I don't need to see the type right now. I don't need to see the girls right now. Just want to work with that star. I'm going to move the star up to the left just a little bit, right around in here. And right now you can see the registration and the bounding box is just surrounding the star. If I didn't choose composition, retain layer size, it would have the entire document. Sometimes that's not a big deal. In this case, for the rotation, it really is. We'll be setting anchor points next week, and that would really throw some stuff off if we brought it in as the size of the composition. Okay, so we know that we have 5 animatable properties. And like I said, let's not even worry about anchor point right now. So it really just goes down to 4. Where are they? We're going to twirl down the star. We're going to twirl down transform. And there we go. There's our rotation. I've got my city marker plotted at the very beginning of the animation. I'm looking at the time signature 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. I'm going to drop a keyframe in at that time signature. So click on the little stopwatch on the star. And there's a little diamond letting me know that, hey, at this time, nothing happened. So now I'm going to scrub the city marker to the very, very end. I'm out to 5 seconds now. And remember, there's 2 values. There's one whole value and then a 0.0. That second value, that's for anything under 1 full revolution. The one on the left is revolutions. So if I want this thing to spin 5 times, I can click right here, plug in 5, and hit tab to get out. So let's see what that looks like. Come over here. I need to edit my purge real quick. Purge all. Okay. Hit spacebar to do a quick RAM preview. How does everyone's look? Is everyone getting a nice rotation in there? Now we can definitely dress this up, and in the future we will, because I like it. I think it works pretty well. I almost think that like 10 rotations might look better. So if I want to change this, all I got to do is double click on this keyframe at the end here, and it brings up, it says, hey, you have 5 revolutions at this keyframe. What if I choose 10? Choose OK. Now let's see what it looks like. It's really moving now. Maybe a little bit too much. So I think 5 was too slow, 10's too much. I'll let you guys choose, but I'm going to double click here. I'll split the difference. I'll go to like 7. Choose OK. Now I'm not going to make you guys do this, but what would be real cool is to see like a little motion blur on it. And just it's really just this easy. You can do something like boom and boom. Now you wind up with a little bit of smeariness around the outside. It looks a little bit more organic. I think it looks pretty good, but more on that at a later date. Okay, so if you got a star spinning, should be good.
I don't know. Professor,
Mm-hmm.
can't see. Can I share my screen?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. What am I gonna do for this? Can you help me? I can't see the star.
Turn off the type layer.
Type layer. Where's the type layer?
It's at the bottom.
Yes.
Turn the eyeball off.
Eyeball off.
It's to the left, all the way to the left.
All the way to the left. Where? Type tool?
No, down in your timeline.
Timeline. Down.
Mhm.
Where?
I wish I could control your screen. Here, let me share my screen.
I think she brought each thing in individually.
Oh, okay. Well, share your screen again.
Okay. What am I gonna do?
Okay, so in your library, in the project panel, yep, down,
Down.
not
Yeah.
not that much. You're looking for, I think I see what you're saying. Okay, so your project panel is up a little bit.
Up.
Yeah. Keep going up a little bit.
Need to delete this.
Go up a little bit.
Oh. It's working.
Well, sort of. You're not in the right composition. You pulled everything into comp 1. So
Power.
no, go up to your project panel.
Project panel.
Mm-hmm.
Where is the project panel?
The one that says project. It's like, yeah, right there. Yep. So that's your project panel. Now you've got a little scroll bar.
Scroll bar.
Scroll bar on the, yep. Okay, so, okay, keep going. Yep. All right. I want you to double click on the comp that says fashion.
Fashion. Yes.
Double click that. There you go.
Oh, it's working.
Yep. Okay. Keep it here. I'll let me share my screen. I'll go through it again, and then you just follow along.
Okay.
Thanks for catching that, whoever did. I don't know if I would have caught that.
Yeah, I had tried it at one point too, and it looked like that. I
And
was like,
you
okay.
listen, you can totally do it that way. You could pull all these assets into that comp. That would be the exact same thing. The problem with that is if I go to comp 1 and I pull these in, they all go to the center. So you can see that like the girls are sitting on top of the type. That's what Sarah was saying. Like it's all in the center, which, it's not the end of the world, but it's a lot easier to work with it already set up like this. So we animated the star. Let's do this. Once you have the animation of the star, I want 3 more stars. Now, for those of you that theirs are working, here's all you need to do. You're just going to duplicate this 3 times. The way that you duplicate layers, I know you'd want to hit Control C, Control V. Don't do it. It's tempting. If you need to duplicate a layer, it's just have the layer selected and you'll hit Control D as in duplicate. So here's your duplicate, and I'm just going to move this over. Control D to duplicate. Move this down. And then you would obviously duplicate one more. But since I want to go through it one more time, you guys can duplicate the fourth one. I'll show you how to, for those of you that missed it, pull a star out here. So if we need to animate the star, here's what you're going to do. I want you to pull the playhead all the way back to the beginning. I want you to twirl down the star, twirl down transform, and we're going to set a keyframe with the playhead at the very, very beginning. We're going to set a keyframe. So you're going to click that little stopwatch. Then you're going to pull the playhead all the way to the end. We're going to plug in a rotation value of 7 and hit tab. Let's hit spacebar and see how it looks. We've got some stuff spinning. So far, so good. I'll move this star down. Let's work with the girls. The girls I want to fade on, but I want one to fade on, then the next, then the next, then the next. Lots of different ways to do this. Let's start with girl 1. The one on the left. At the very, very beginning, I'm going to have her at 0% opacity. But let's be smart about this. We could, and we should, set the keyframes for all of them at once instead of animating one, then going to the next one, animating that one, instead of the next one, animating that one. We can select all 4 of these girls, set a keyframe, because we know we want them to all start off at 0% opacity and then turn into 100% opacity. We might as well go ahead and set that up right now. And then what we can do is just stagger the frames. So check this out. I'm going to shift select all the girls. So start with girl 4, hold down, and I'm holding down shift, grab girl 1. I'm going to twirl down the animatable properties, and then I'm going to twirl down transform. What I'm going to do is
Hey, Professor.
yeah.
How would you do that if for a MacBook? Like you selected all 4 girls?
You have a shift button, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so same way. You click on girl 4, hold shift, and grab girl 1.
All I did was just pull girl 4 to the bottom. Just go 4.
See. So if you click on girl 1, hold down shift, and click on the bottom, it doesn't select all 4 of them.
Okay, when I click on girl 4 and then shift, it just gives me an exclamation mark. No, it just gave me like a cross out mark. Like it won't even let me do that. It just shifts only go 4 to the bottom.
So select girl 4. You clicked on it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then you're going to hold down shift. I've let go. I'm not holding the button down anymore. I just clicked it once. I let go. And then I'm going to hold down the shift key and then just click one more time on the bottom, and it still moves it.
Yeah, just give me the plus sign and then just went to the bottom.
Okay. Well, we can just do it manually. That's okay. For those of you that it does work, here's what you can do, folks. Click on the opacity. It doesn't look like I got all the opacity either. So actually, you know what? Let's just do it manually. So we'll start with girl 4. No, I take that back. Let's start with girl 1, just because she's on the left. So we'll twirl down transform. We're going to set the opacity to nothing. We'll come out to 1 second. And then I want you to bring the opacity up to 100. So if you just scrub the timeline, she should fade on and off in 1 second. You're going to do the exact same thing for the next 3 girls. You can do it in the same spot too. You should. So girl 2, transform, turn on a opacity. She starts at nothing, come out to 1 second, bring her up to 100. That wasn't 1 second. There's 1 second. Do the exact same thing for the next 2 girls. Click on an opacity keyframe, starts at 0, go out to 1 second, opacity at 100. Girl 4, opacity 100, opacity 0. So if I do a quick RAM preview, this is what it should end up looking like.
Can you go through that one more time? I'm
Sure.
sorry.
That's all right. All right, let's start with girl 1. We'll go back to the very beginning. We've got 4 stars spinning. That's a good start. We're going to twirl down girl 1.
Yeah, it starts. My star's not spinning yet. I need to help. I need your help. My
Okay,
help.
well, we have to keep moving. So if you guys got to go back and rewatch the chat, you absolutely can. But we got to keep moving forward. So I'm going to do the girls again, and then I want to do the type. And then whatever time we've got left at the end, I can answer any questions. So if your stars aren't working right now, don't worry about it. All right, so we've got girl 1. Nothing's happening. So we're going to pull the playhead back to the very beginning. And what we're going to do is we're going to set a keyframe at the very beginning. And we're going to pull the opacity of girl 1 down to nothing. Or you can just key in 0. All right, so she's basically invisible. Now we want to make her visible. So what we'll do is we'll take our playhead, the city marker. We'll come out to 1 second or thereabouts. Doesn't have to be perfect. And then you can click on the 0% opacity and key in 100 and tab out. So now if you scrub the playhead, she should become visible. Did that work?
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Okay, so let's do girl 2. Exact same way. Twirl down girl 2. Pop a keyframe at the very beginning, and we'll key in 0%. Bring the playhead out to 1 second, and then I will key in 100. So if I did this right, both of these girls should fade in and out at the exact same time. If you got it for 2 of them, the next 2 are the exact same thing. So we twirl girl 3 down. Twirl down your transform if it's not. Opacity at frame 000, and she is 0% opaque. Go out to 1 second, and opacity up to 100. And then last, but finally not least, girl 4, 0% opaque, 0% opaque. Drop a keyframe, 1 second, 100%. So all 4 girls should fade on while the stars are spinning. Sure. Now here's the thing. It looks good. Stars are moving pretty well. Girls are fading on, but I don't like the fact that all 4 of them are happening at once. What I want is, as one begins to almost become opaque, I want the other one to start fading on. There's a lot of well, I don't want to say there's a lot of different ways. What we could do is we could move the keyframes around. That would totally work. But an easier way would just be to move the frames. So I'm going to twirl some of this stuff up. I'm looking at girl 1 and I'm looking at girl 2. So this is girl 1. Click on her. I can see her bounding box. She's fine. She's in the right spot. She just kind of starts when the thing starts. I want girl 2, though, to start fading on when she's just about materialized or opaque. So I'll just take this layer and I'm just going to click, hold, and drag and move it back. And I'm kind of eyeballing where the keyframes are. So right when she's almost opaque, she starts to fade on. I'll do the same thing with frame 3 or girl 3. The same thing with girl 4. So I'm just really jostling these around so they're offset. So it should look something like as one begins to get completely opaque, so all you did was you took the layers, not the keyframes, you just took the layers because the keyframes are kind of set with the layer and you're just moving those around and you can shuffle those back and forth however you want. Let's finish with the type. We're going to animate a scale and then I need to show you guys how to render this off. Then I'll take attendance. So give me about 10 more minutes. The type is just scale. And to, I think it was Rachel's point about over animation, we're going to over animate the scale. And you know what? Let's leave that for a different day. It's getting kind of late. All right. So fade in, fade in, fade in, fade in. As soon as she's completely faded in, I want this to start at 0 and I want it to go to 100. So right here, she's probably totally faded in at around 3 seconds. I'll twirl down my type, transform. I'm going to click scale and I'm going to bring my scale down to 0. Move the playhead out a couple seconds and I'll bring the scale up to 100. All right, let's see what the whole thing looks like. Not bad. Now, and again, I apologize if it wasn't Rachel, but I think it was. Rachel, if you wanted to over animate something, how would you do it?
So you would animate it and it would start at 0 and then it would go to like 105% or 110% and then you would bring it down. You could bring it down straight to 100% or you could bring it down to like 95% and then bring it back up to 100.
I couldn't have said it any better. So let's do this. I'll double click on this keyframe. Instead of 100, because it's vector, I can make it whatever size I want. Let's do 120. And then very quickly, maybe like a frame or two after, just 2 frames, I'm going to bring it down to 100. So when you over animate, it's important that it snaps back pretty quick. So let's see what that little piece looks like. You see that little pop? That's your over animating. And I'm glad that you know that term. Everyone has seen it so many times, but it's so subtle and it's so nuanced that we kind of don't notice it. But once you do start noticing it, you can't unnotice it. It's like on everything. It's an organic way for things to happen. Nothing just grows to 100 and stops. There is inertia, there's physics that just, and it kind of draws back.
Could you demonstrate that pop-up again?
Don't worry about the pop-up. We've got a whole new demo for that. Essentially what's going on here is it starts at 0. A keyframe is at 120. And then there's another keyframe 2 frames away at 100. So it goes bigger and then it kind of like pulls back. But next week, we've got a whole demo on over animation. So if you didn't get that, it's not that big of a deal. What is a big deal is that we understand how to package this thing. Because right now, this is just an After Effects file. You can't give this to a client. They won't know it won't work. So this is important, guys. Pay attention. We need to render this. So we're going to go to Composition, add to the render queue. I will have a whole demo on the render queue and why it's awesome in the weeks to come. But for right now, just roll with me. We're going to add to the render queue. Your timeline will go away. Well, it's not gone away. It's buried. Like here's your fashion. Here's your render queue. You've got a few settings here. The only thing that I want you guys to worry about are output module and output 2. Render settings, just leave best. That's fine. Your output module, if you click on this word here, make sure your format is set to H.264. Not time tonight to get into this. This is going to be the codec that we use always, unless it's a GIF. So 264 is perfect. You can choose OK. Output 2, you click on this. This tells it where to go. So I'll put mine in my downloads, name it whatever you want to, choose save. And then you actually just need to hit the word render up here. You'll see a little bar. This isn't a complicated animation, so it should shoot by pretty quick. Once it's done, you'll hear a ding. There it is. Let's double check the work. Be my downloads. There it is. Guys, that's what you're going to submit.
Can you go over the exporting one more time?
Sure. Okay.
I'm not seeing. Oh, okay. I see it now. I was going to say I'm not seeing anything right now.
So to export, it's composition, add to the render queue. You can do a lot in the render queue. You can see that I actually had one. It remembers what I did every session. So I just did one. It's right here. Here's my new one. Leave render settings to best. Under output module, you'll click on this. If it says H.264, leave it alone. If it doesn't, click on this word and choose format H.264. Choose OK. Tell it where to go and what to be named. So output 2, if you click on this word, I usually put my stuff in the downloads. Choose save. And then hit the word render. You should see a little quick render bar go by. You should be in good shape. Try it out. Let me know if it works.
Oh, it made the sound. Okay.
Good. Well, then it worked. But now double check and make sure that your animation is there. That's how you guys are going to give me these projects for those of you working in After Effects.
Are you talking right now? Because I see like you're moving, but I can't hear anything.
I'm not. I'm talking to myself. I'm doing attendance and I'm just
Okay.
drifting off.
Sorry, I was like.
No, you're fine. You're fine. I
I
probably look like a crazy person talking to myself. Cool. All right. All right, folks, that is it. I got attendance in, so we had to rush a little bit at the end, but I think we got it. And like I said, I'll stop recording now. It's archived.